Grass, sand, water, ice, fire. You've played this journey 100 times and never noticed. You start in a field and you end in fire, and somehow everything in between feels familiar. These environments and the journey show up everywhere across genres. So, why do so many games follow the same environmental arc? Facts are, it works. Emotionally, mechanically, and psychologically. The fields and meadows of a grassland always start soft. The grass bends, birds chatter, the sky opens wide. This is where the journey begins. Not because it's easy, but because it's relatively safe. You're given a moment to breathe before you learn to run. Grasslands are trust-building spaces. They teach you the rules, the buttons, and the rhythm of movement. They also set the tone, the color palettes, and the music. This is a comfort as contrast, because later on you'll miss it when it's gone. There's no rush here in the meadows and the fields. The danger is mild, the challenge gentle. Grasslands are an exhale, an invitation to begin. The world whispers, you're safe here. So you lean in, the grass sways, the sun's warm, the music hums in the background like a lullaby. You move, you jump, you swing, you attack, and slowly you find your rhythm. The grassland's comfort is calculated. Developers are building trust on purpose. These bright colors, open skies, and predictable paths, combined with enemies that telegraph their moves, it's all part of the illusion you've got this. Yes, as you journey through, sometimes the grass hides more. The tall blades conceal danger, and the calm gives way to some light chaos and discovery. The fields become a small beginner's battleground. Every return and every beginning in the grasslands feels like a coming home. The sandy wasteland of a desert stretches and dares you to follow. The heat simmers and the sand swallows your footprints. The horizon always stays just out of reach. Deserts are empty in a way that feels personal. It's purposeful. It's not just about surviving the heat, it's about surviving yourself. The desert zones slow the pace and they strip some of the noise. They're designed to give you space to hear thoughts you might not have asked for. In a desert biome, every direction can sometimes look the same. Landmarks feel like a test, and sometimes the real challenge in this new zone, having come from the grasslands, is just admitting you're lost. At the same time, deserts are designed to awaken clarity. This emptiness is here for you to focus. The silence can become rhythm. What if the desert isn't a void in a wasteland, but it's truly a mirror, a proving ground? The desert level in its emptiness isn't lazy design. It is a space that is there to shift you inward. Long walks with little dialogue. Deserts don't guide, they confront. The sand crunches, and the paths may feel meaningless, but you stop sprinting and you start scanning. The desert levels will teach restraint, conservation, and the rhythms start to shift from frantic action and towards an intentionality of things. When you leave the desert, you've shed something, a version of yourself that thought this would all be easy. You leave the desert as the path narrows. You've come to a mountain, a cliff, a peak. The wind screams as every ledge hisses danger. Every plateau mocks you with a false summit, yet it still dares you to keep going. What may live at the top of the mountain might not be what you came for. The mountain zones are a test of your endurance. You climb not just to advance, but to affirm. You climb not just to progress, but to prove. Each checkpoint in a cliff biome feels like a heartbeat. Each fall is a lesson. Each fall replays in your mind. You wrestle with gravity like it's a part of you, and maybe it is. You wrestle gravity in yourself. What if looking down is harder than looking up? You'll see how far you've come, and maybe how far there is to go. As you rise in a well-designed mountain world, the world below flattens into memory. Connections become distant and fragile. The summit offers no welcome space. It invites the question, who are you up here when no one is watching? A good cliff biome lets you arrive while the silence roars and the stillness envelops. At the top, the wind no longer fights you, it waits. And in that waiting, mountain level, you hear something new. Or maybe something you forgot. Silence means something. You earned the stillness, you earned the sky. But as you climbed up the mountain, you'll need to climb down, and it never stays long. The journey continues. These opening 3 biomes, the grasslands, into the desert, into the mountains, I like to think of as the basic, the classic, the grasslands, desert, mountain journey. It's such a natural progression. This soft beginning in the grasslands, you move into the desert, an inviting yet harsh open space, and you move into a mountain with this upward climb. These biomes perfectly create an emotional tempo as terrain and difficulty both escalate. Often you encounter moving down into the underground, a place of mines and caverns, a place dense with things unsaid where sound stretches longer. Underground levels start to unravel the known. Your sight is shortened, the paths twist, the map starts to become almost a suggestion, and your memory tries to fill gaps. The walls start to not just surround you, but they watch. You've overcome so much, but what else is sleeping here in the dark, waiting to be? Suddenly, tension is your only compass as you reach for treasure and you feel teeth. A good underground level has a silence to it that has you starting to ask questions. The caves burrow into your thoughts. The hush isn't peace, it's an interrogation. If you listen long enough, it starts to whisper back. The deeper you crawl, the more distant the sky feels. A good underground zone has you questioning everything. It presents challenges you've never encountered before, and it creates a space where the senses you've honed up to this point can betray you. It's really a wonderful contrast and a lovely increase in difficulty as you journey on. Emerging from the underground, we encounter oceans, a true water level. Water levels are great because you don't move through the water, they move through you. You drift, your limbs lose meaning, the surface vanishes behind you like a memory. Every stroke feels slower, every breath a decision. What hides in the hush below the waves? Water levels are designed to dissolve certainty. Light fractures, sounds start to cheat, shapes lie, near becomes far, far becomes threat, presence becomes paranoia. Is that a shadow approaching or are you sinking? The ocean can be a cathedral in a coffin. The coral gleams like stained glass. Fish flicker like secrets, and below the abyss hums without promise. Survival here in an ocean biome doesn't feel earned, it can feel borrowed. Water levels are designed to test you. In the ocean, your imagination never runs out of space. Sometimes the worst thing isn't what haunts you here, but it's what you imagine just out of view. There's a terror to a good water level. You encounter ice and snow, and you discover a stillness that pretends to be safety. These levels are a lie made of frost. The wind cuts, the surface betrays your weight. In a good ice level, stillness isn't calm, it's a trap. In a good snow level, how do you keep moving when the air tries to freeze you? The ice punishes. You don't conquer these levels, you calculate, you wait. The clarity sharpens in the cold. In an ice and snow level, you're not crossing the terrain, you're hearing the truth. The cold peels away masks, it leaves only what matters. Sometimes what breaks isn't the ice, but it's you walking across it. A sky level offers freedom. You rise onto floating islands in a realm of cloud, and you can forget the previous struggles. The platforms start to drift like thoughts, and clouds blur the ground into myth. The higher up you go, the thinner the rules. Yet one misstep and you're gone. What happens when trust becomes weight? Sky levels offer freedom with a leech. Developers here, they dazzle and they seduce. Missteps here aren't mistakes, they're the end. Suddenly, precision becomes sacred and balance becomes an identity. When there's no floor, where's your foundation? A good floating island, gravity never leaves, but it waits. In a cloud realm, it's the aw's distraction it starts to reclaim. Sky temples glint like prophecy, airships hum like memory. A sky level has light breaking through the clouds like an epiphany. But still, when you land, if you land, you often don't feel triumphant, you feel changed. Flight here was never the gift, it was the test. Often there's a mix of these kind of four previous biomes. The underground, the ocean, the ice, the sky. All of them are designed to create an arc of disorientation, right? The ocean has this isolation to it. The underground is this sensory loss. The ice is often a tension indoor freezing, and the sky creates this fear of falling and failing while also having some release. Each of these places are designed to build these strong psychological contrast and then these catharsis moments. They're really designed to pull out emotions and test you and challenge you in ways that in that kind of opening grassland desert mountain, you don't really have these, unique specialized challenges that, can really take you out of things. But these last four here, the underground, the ocean, the ice, the sky, they all have this beautiful arc of disorientation and challenge that really adds to your hero's journey. You've survived long enough to encounter the swamp, the bog, the marsh. What grows here doesn't want to be found. Mud clings, air steams with rot, water lies still, but nothing about a good swamp level feels calm. Bogs aren't just wet, they're waiting. The marsh is waiting for you to sink, to misstep, or forget your path entirely. A good swamp level can blur boundaries between land and water and predator and prey. Swamp levels are a blurring of progress and stagnation. Every step here costs more than it looks. Every shortcut hides teeth. Movement can be slow, vision narrows, but what seems like a detour suddenly becomes your descent. A good swamp level has some beauty buried in the muck. Yes, a lush canopy might filter in some green light. Ancient ruins peek from beneath the vines. Swamps aren't dead zones. They're actually properly sanctuaries for the overlooked. But in a good swamp level, you can't take anything for granted, not even the ground. Oftentimes, the only way forward is through something that doesn't want you to leave. There's a few biomes I think deserve an honorable mention here that I'm not going to go into more detail on beyond mentioning. The Corruption Void Dreamscape biome. We see these from time to time, and I think they're a lot of fun and definitely very unique. Additionally, the Urban City Ruins, right? A lot of good titles have an urban zone or a city zone or just some ruins, and each of them has their own kind of unique danger and intrigue to them as well. Also, honorable mention listed here is the artificial, simulated, or the digital biome. Lots of games have a sneaky little post-game kind of you're in space, it's just simulated artificial, digital zone, and I think it's a cool zone as well, just again, not one we see nearly as often. Please, this video took a ton of research and time to put together. If you found it helpful and want to help me keep making more content like this, consider joining as a channel member or Patreon supporter. Your support directly funds the channel and helps me stay independent. Thank you. In the fire, in the lava, in the volcano, everything burns. It's kind of how you know it matters. Purification even. The fire, lava, volcano zones pulse with threat. The ceilings rain flames. This isn't a challenge, it's judgment. You don't pass through fire, you face it. And if you emerge, you're not the same. What part of you will survive the heat? Fire demands a certainty. Dodges aren't reactions, they're declarations. I won't be burned here. Your jumps must sing with purpose. Every strike is truth. Every mistake is consequence. What is hesitation but the kindling of your own burning demise? A good fire level doesn't destroy, it reveals. A good lava zone melts away illusion. The volcano is there to temper the raw, so that beneath the ash something waits to be named. That is you victorious. You don't leave the flames, you become them. Burn away and what remains is the hero. Grass, sand, water, ice, fire. You've played this path 100 times. We don't just walk through video game levels. We descend through mirrors and ascend into questions. We shatter into shapes we didn't know we carried. These biomes don't just stage the journey, they are the journey. Each one whispers a challenge, a change, a truth. These biomes are not just careless backdrafts. These are deliberate catalysts. They are thresholds. They are tests. These various levels will shape more than just the mood. They shape movement. The grassland teaches you timing. The desert slows you down. The mountains and the swamps enforce these commitments. The water demands rhythm. The ice rewards caution. The fire dares you to act. When it all ends, when the fire fades and silence returns and the credits roll, sometimes you find yourself back in a field where the grass sways and the sky's open. But something's different now, and that's you. Yes, grass, sand, water, ice, fire. You've played this path 100 times, and now you finally know why.